What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Ken Jr. from Giving It a Try. Today we're talking about the 2022 Ironman 70.3 North Carolina race review and course recap. Today we're going to talk about course overview, how the day went, some accommodations, travel, and just all about the race. I got a lot of questions about this race. It was new to me this year. I've never done this course. And like the prior videos this year with Maine and Atlantic City and Chattanooga, it was nice to be able to just put all my thoughts within the week after the race, put it out there to everybody, get some chatter going in the comments down below and see how everybody's day went. And maybe interest a few people in doing this race in the future. So let's jump in and see what we got. So why I chose this race? Well, to be honest with you, I live in New York. Traveling wise, it's in a drivable distance. It's about 10 hours away from Long Island. Beautiful area. We were going to make it a family trip, last 70.3 of the year. Head down there, stay there for about 5 days. And it's also a course that suits my training style. I'm a little bit of a weaker swimmer. I'm a pretty strong biker and runner. It's a point-to-point swim, pretty flat course overall. So it kind of suited the way I train and the way I go about things in my training up here in New York. So I figured it'd be a fun race, maybe put in a good result down there in North Carolina. So real quick, let's talk about travel and accommodations on getting down there. It was a Saturday race. This throws a little wrench into things as those who are normally racing on Sundays. We did leave Wednesday really late, stayed over a few hours down just past Washington, D.C. So we put in about 4 or 5 hours of driving that night. Stayed at a hotel, finished up about a 6-hour drive to get to our rental on the beach on Thursday. This allowed us, with the guests we were staying with, a few people that I did Maine with last year, a couple local athletes, we were staying together. And we were able to check in Thursday night for athlete check-in and then be able to drop all of our gear off that we needed to drop off on Friday instead of rushing around on Friday. Having that Saturday race, getting down there midday Thursday, overall it would have been nicer to have that extra 1 day before, maybe get there on Wednesday. But really in the grand scheme of things, especially for 70.3, do you really want that extra day to just sit around, worry, overthink things? And it's nice to maybe sometimes get down there, get checked in, do what you got to do, get out there, get the race done. And especially for us wanting to stay down there Sunday, Monday, and then heading back on Tuesday, we were able to just extend our stay after the race a little bit and be able to enjoy ourselves and kick back and relax and have that extra day post-race as opposed to pre-race. So for us, this race starts on the coast of North Carolina, works its way inland, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We stayed at the race start area in Wrightsville Beach. It's like a 2.5 square mile, beach off of the mainland, surrounded by the bay and the ocean. Only really 2 blocks in between both. We stayed in a beautiful beach rental. The area itself is gorgeous. I would vacation down there without even going down there to have to do a race. The whole family loved it. Went down with the kids, the wife, parents. Went down there with some friends as well. Everybody enjoyed it. Just the sights, the cleanliness, everyone was nice down there. So all in all, just staying in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina was just a win. It was awesome. Everybody loved it. Very clean, very close to the mainland, just going over the bridge and getting to some grocery stores or restaurants or whatever you need to do. Or you could stay and shop local and go to the local coffee shop or the local bar, whatever you want to do over there in Wrightsville Beach. So with that being said, when I booked for a vacation there or for the racecation there, I said, all right, the swim, this starts in Wrightsville Beach. Let's get a place over there close to the swim start in Wrightsville Beach. I like to be able to, not have to rush around in the morning and have a long travel to get there. I didn't really know until about 3 months out from the race because I had other races going on and I didn't really start focusing on this race specifically until then, that this race actually starts, yes, in Wrightsville Beach, but actually ends and finishes about 10 miles inland in Wilmington near the convention center. So just threw a little wrench in things. There's actually 2 different transitions and we'll get into that. I'll run you through the course start to finish on, the logistics of it and how you have to go about planning for it. It was interesting because as I started to realize there's a lot more to this than just showing up at one transition, putting all your stuff down and getting started like a regular 70.3. It was going to throw this other element in it of, having to plan a little bit, strategize a little bit, which if you know me is right in my wheelhouse as far as how I plan for these races. So let's talk about the logistics real quick. Ironman Village, which we got to Thursday night, also went to on Friday, is at the convention center in Wilmington, near the finish line and at T2. It's about 10 miles inland from where we stayed in Wrightsville Beach. When we got there for the Ironman Village, we got there, saw the big banner set up outside, Ironman Village, but where is it? I said, I don't see the tents, I don't see everything. It was actually indoors, inside the convention center, which threw like a nice new element in things. We're inside, everything was clean, you're not near the elements. It was just a different type of vibe inside. The courses were on the screens inside the convention center. Everything was just kind of like modernized as opposed to just being out in the field. So it was pretty cool just to have that different type of experience at that village. Everything was well kept inside, beautiful convention center down there, able to check in and then get all the information we needed. We actually attended an athlete briefing as well, and we're able to get all the information that we needed as far as the logistics of this race, which they are some definite logistics that you need to be, not worried about, but plan for, I should say. So let's talk about it. It's a swim. It's on the bay side. It's listed as an ocean swim on the site. It's in a channel that comes off of the ocean. It is a point-to-point swim. So you will start in Wrightsville Beach. But rewind, how do we get there? There is a swim start on Wrightsville Beach, which goes across the bay or channel, finishes at the mainland, 1.2 miles. You will get out of the water, run across the street to where your bike is. That is T1. You mount your bike, and then you continue on. You go about 10 miles inland, past the convention center, do the rest of the bike course, which is an out and back loop. You come back, T2 is at the convention center with more bike racks with your run gear waiting for you. You'll rack your bike there, put your run gear on, run an out and back 13.1 miles past the convention center and down by river over there, and you'll be able to finish near the convention center. So logistically, how you get your stuff to all these places is the day before the race, you will have to take your run gear stuff, put it in a specific run gear bag you'll get at check-in, just like a full Ironman. Leave it at T2, drop it off. You can no longer get to that until race day. You will hang it on your bike rack. So all you'll see are a bunch of bike racks with these red run gear bags ready for you for the next day at race day. So you would put whatever you need for that run in there and leave it the night before. You'll then go down towards Wrightsville Beach, where that T1 is at the swim exit, with your bike. You'll drop your bike off, put it on the rack like you would the day before any other 70.3 or Ironman event, and then continue on with your day. Now the next morning, you're gonna pack a couple things for this race. They're gonna give you a morning clothes bag, which you can just put all of your swim stuff in for that morning. We'll get into that in a second. And then as well, you're gonna bring whatever you need for the bike. So at the very least, you need to get to T1 in the morning where your bike is to drop all of your bike stuff off. You will not be needing to go into T2 with your run stuff, although they do offer a shuttle for people that are staying in Wilmington where the convention center is and T2 to take that shuttle down to T1 with all their bike stuff. A lot of people do stay in Wilmington. There's a lot of accommodations there. We didn't have to take that shuttle because we were down the block. We got dropped off at T1 with our bike and swim stuff. We set up everything we needed for our bike, kept whatever we needed for the swim. They offer you now a shuttle to the swim start, 1.2 miles, so it could be a second shuttle for you in the morning. Thankfully, with the guests we were staying with, we had the ability to just get taken to T1, drop our bike stuff off, and then get driven down the road 1.2 miles, dropped off at the swim start. So real quick though, with those logistics, what you'll do with that morning clothes bag, you'll get dressed at the swim start. Whatever you don't need from the swim start that you would like back at the finish line at the convention center will go into that morning clothes bag. You'll put it to the side with your number on it. It will get transported for you. Now, when you get out of the swim and get to T1 with your bike, you will have a bike bag that you brought there with your bike gear in the morning waiting for you. You will get on your bike. All the bike gear you need will be on you, and anything you take off from the swim has to be packed in that bag, drawstring closed, leave it at your spot. They will take that bag as well. Once everybody's on the bike, it will just be bike bags numbered all over transition. They will transport those to the end as well. So at the finish line, you're gonna have a morning clothes bag and your bike bag waiting for you in a secure area over there, so you can gather all your stuff from the end of this race near the convention center and finish line and be on your way with wherever you need to go the rest of the day. Sounds confusing, but after you break it down a few times, you realize it's not so bad, and it was actually pretty cool to have this type of different transitions throughout. My only tips on that are try and remember where you are in each transition. You're no longer dealing with one transition on where you need to come in, where you need to come out, and where your number is. I did get turned around when I came in off the bike in T2. Just for whatever reason, I thought the rack was on a different side than it was, so I spent 30, 40 seconds kind of running around trying to find out where this number was. It is what it is. It happens from time to time. No big deal. So, as well with the course, again, point to point, you will have an assisted current with this swim. That morning, it was very flat, the water. There was really no wind in the forecast for that day. It was supposed to be sunny out. It was going to get kind of warm in the afternoon, but very cool temperatures to start the day, or I should say very pleasant temperatures. You will have that current assisted swim. When you get on the bike, it will be a flat bike course. We're talking total elevation, they say on the Ironman website, of 643 feet. Over 56 miles, this is really not a lot. There are a couple bridges and overpasses to go over that make up at the beginning and end of this bike course for most of that elevation. Other than that, it is a very long, straight, flat road going out. Turnarounds a little bit up in the countryside there. It's like a lollipop formation. And once you get back onto that straightaway to get back into transition into T2, it is pretty long and straight. The only issue you may find on this course is if you do have a windy day, it does get windy down there. But thankfully, conditions the morning of this race was light wind. We did feel a little wind out there, but it was nothing, really to write home about. Just some calm winds out there. Nothing that was really blowing anybody around on the bike course. Temperature-wise was very nice. On the bike course, it was pleasant. It did get a little hot on the run for anybody that was out there for a longer period of time than some of the others. And the run course, they say, is a rolling run course, but it really is just a little rolling getting in and out through the town. But once you get out to the bigger part of the course, that 4 miles out, 4 miles back of that 13.1 miles, pretty flat. You get out there, semi-shaded. You're not really out in the sun too long for any exposed period of time. So if it was really, really hot, it's not like an Atlantic City run where there's nothing there to protect you. You will get some in and outs, plenty of aid stops along the way, because both in and out do run past each other. So you do see a lot of the athletes coming back the other way or going out as you're coming back. So there is a lot of support there. There was a lot of support from the local community there, people out on their porches playing music, very spectator friendly out on the run course, and very motivating to be out there. You're talking total elevation, 222 feet on the run course. Again, not a lot over 13.1 miles. To me, that's not really a rolling run course for myself and the type of training I do. But if you're coming from straight up flat training grounds, there will be some hills there that maybe you need to work on throughout your training. Ironman lists this on their site as having an average air temperature of 65 degrees, average water temperature of 72 degrees. The water temperature for the race day was just below that, so it was spot on. And race day temperature, I guess, average throughout the race probably was about 65, 70 degrees. It started out a little cooler, did work its way up to be a little warmer on the actual course that day. But overall, the course itself laid out beautifully. I liked the different transitions. I liked the point-to-point swim. I liked ending the bike at a different area. I liked the out and back run course. There's no looping you're doing on this course. So it is laid out very well. And it is laid out to have a very good day if you train properly for it, where you can get yourself a really good time at this 70.3 distance. All right, now let's talk about race recap for myself. Going into this, I've had one sub-5 70.3 Ironman attempt. That was last year in Maine. I was able to accomplish that. I believe I did 4:48. Was going to go back, tried that again at Atlantic City this year. Had some hiccups in the swim, wound up doing 5:08. Maine earlier in the year, I had some issues at that race. I wound up just around the 5:30 mark for that race. But knowing this race and knowing where my training had progressed throughout the year, this was the race for the year out of the 70.3s that I did, where I was going to really go out there, give it my effort that I could give based on the training I did this year, and wanted to see how close I can come to maybe trying to hit that 5-hour mark again. How I accomplish these things is I break down, based on the course, what I estimate my swim, my bike, my run paces to be at, what I think my transition times will be at, find what I can basically do in each to get to that 5 hours, and plot it out. I even usually on the top tube of my bike, I'll leave a little label right there just on the paces. So throughout the day, I'll know if I come out 2 minutes ahead on the swim, that's 2 more minutes I have add it in going onto the bike, or if I'm behind 2 minutes, I need to make up 2 more minutes on the bike. And that's just the mathematical game I play to get to my personal goals out there on race day. It's nice to have a plan, and like you'll see, if something goes, sideways on it, you have to adapt, reassess, and come up with a new plan, which again is a mental mind game. It keeps your mind involved, it's constant, steady within the race, and just keeping you mile after mile motivated with something on your head, and knowing why you're progressing at this speed, or how pushing yourself to hold on throughout the race. So let's get into it. The swim that morning, I felt pretty good overall going into this race. I had 2 friends with me that morning. That always helps cool the nerves down at the beginning of the day, just being able to go down there, experience everything leading up to that race start with them. Going in, I knew it was going to should be the faster swims of the races this year. It was point to point. We seated ourselves between the 37 and 40 minute swim group, knowing that with the current, I should be able to definitely at least do that on a good morning right there. We did get in the water probably about 25 minutes after the actual race started and the first person went in the water with the rolling start. And when we found out right before we got in that the first person had finished their swim in, I believe it was 21 and change minutes, that's not common. So we knew that there definitely was a push out there and people were getting, some fast swim times. So that kind of, felt good. We did a practice swim the day before, which definitely helped out. We were able to just, feel the water, see what it was like swimming out in that channel, and be able to give it a good go. Once we got in the water, things just felt good. You're gonna, on the swim course, just swim out off this little, makeshift little beach area on the channel right there. Make a right at your first buoy and start heading down the channel. You're gonna swim down quite a few buoys. You're going to make a left turn to start heading towards the mainland. A couple more turns, I believe it's a right and then a left turn. And eventually, after 1.2 miles, you're going to find yourself at a dock with all kinds of ladders. And you're going to have to climb yourself up a few rungs of the ladder to get on the dock to head to T1. Overall, the swim was supposed to be pretty spread out as far as people in the water. I did run into some people out there. It wasn't that overcrowded, but there was definitely some cross swimming and people not understanding maybe where these turns were. But overall, I was able to kind of keep a groove. Didn't have to really, fight around too much in the water. Kind of held my own, stayed off to the side a little bit. Just took the current, got behind people when I could. Got through all those turns. Goggles started to fog up a little bit near the last couple turns, so it kind of got confusing, but just one buoy at a time. Finally, we see people getting out of the water. Said perfect. I had looked at my watch once or twice throughout the swim real quick on some of my strokes and was able to see that it was progressing at a faster than usual swim. So we get there, climb up, get out, look at my watch. To get to that 5 hours, I had allotted myself a 40-minute swim. That's just my average or best area that I usually do 70.3 swims in. And then everything was based off of that after. So I figure if it was a fast day, I don't want to rely on it being a fast swim. I would be able to put some time in the bank towards that 5 hours if, something happened down the road or I wasn't able to hold my run pace for the day. So we head out, get there, T1, I usually allot about 5 minutes per transition on there. I'm very good, considering, based off myself. In transitions, my mission is get in, get out, keep it the same every time, and just move on. That's free time. I see some people waste 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes extra in transitions with stuff that they could probably be doing out there, whether it's nutrition or just getting out on the bike and getting warmed up out there instead of taking a rest in transition. So to me, that's wasted time. We got in, we got out. My swim time wound up being just under 35 minutes. So it's 34 and change. I round that up when I get out. I said, perfect, 35-minute swim. We're 5 minutes ahead of our pace for the day. We're feeling pretty good. That gives you that confidence boost headed out. My transition time was within that minute that I wanted, so I called it flush on that and head out on the bike course. I knew I had to do about, I believe, 2:31 I had allotted myself to finish this bike course at. Headed out, felt pretty good. Was able to get the pace going. There's some turns and getting out, those few miles away from the convention center, going up some overpasses. You have to go over a couple graded bridges. They tell you have to get out of arrow. There's a no passing zone. So you do have to slow up a little bit getting out onto that flatter road, that open highway that you're going to go on for an extended period of time. So I knew at least I can make up that that time and pacing once I get out there and can get settled in. Because of my swimming abilities, I'm usually at that halfway, just below the halfway point of the field overall. So when you're talking about 2,000 athletes, I believe I was, even with that swim time, like 1,300 overall. So having those, there's a large number of people that I pass early on the bike because I'm stronger at biking. Constantly passing, which, you know, does take some more energy because you can't really get settled in. You're going around someone to the left, getting back into the right. And this is just constant progress now for myself for about the first 30 miles of the bike. Everything was going fine. I was hitting the paces I needed, getting close to that average pace I was shooting for to get that 2:31 bike split, or at that 2:30 mark even. About mile 35, a few bikers kind of caught up to me that were at my cycling ability, so it was good to be able to kind of pace off of these people and be able to, I said, wow, you know, I can ride with these guys and keep them in my sights. It's going to motivate me to push a little bit extra on this last part of the bike that I needed. And this is definitely going to take me into town at the pace that I needed. We get up around, we're doing some of the looping up in the northern part, or the top part of the bike course before we get back on the highway. And overall, I just said to myself, this day is going great. The bike's going great. The weather's perfect out here. It's the last race of the year for me, triathlon. This can just hold together, get on that run. We can have ourselves a really, really good day. With that being said, about within 2 minutes later, something didn't feel right. I was looking down my bike, my rear tire. For some reason that my rear tire was on my mind for the day. I don't know why. I was riding my full disc rear and my 80 front. Things were doing well. I was flying, but then I noticed I was able to just see that the tire looked a little flatter under the rim in the back. It just didn't look fully inflated. About another minute later, I felt the back wheel start to, you know, give way a little bit. It felt really soft. And I said, I have to check this right now, or something bad could potentially happen. Hopped off the bike on the side of the road, laid it down, felt the rear tire, and knew something was up. It was just under half inflated. Damn, this is gonna take a hit for the day. Took a deep breath. It is what it is. I carry 2 tubes, 2 CO2s. You know, I've never had a race flat on race day. I've had them in training, trained properly on how to change these things, but never under pressure like this and have to change it. Of course, it's a rear tire as well, which everybody jokes at is the harder of the 2 tires to change. I laid the bike down in the grass, took a look at it. One of the SAG vehicles was passing by. It wasn't the mechanic though. He was just asking, you know, is everything okay? He did stop and just at least offer, you know, some emotional assistance there. And, you know, I asked if he had a bike pump. I was going to try and put air back in the tire just to see if it would hold. He didn't have that. So I said, well, let me try and just put some air in this. I have about 15 miles to go. Maybe I can just fill it up if it's a slow leak and continue on without having to change it right now at least. Once I screwed the CO2 canister in though, my adapter wasn't shut off, so it started blowing the CO2 right out of it. I tried to shut it off, but the CO2 was gone. It was wasted. I now had 1 CO2 left on the side of the road. I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to change this. I'm gonna have to put a new tube in. I need this done the right way with what I have left. I was able to pop the rear wheel off while it was on the ground, nice and easy. Thankfully, the rear wheel on that bike isn't that much of a pain to put the tire on and off and the tube in. So I was able to do that. Wasn't really paying attention to how much time it was taking. It felt like an eternity, obviously. I was able to get it back in, attach the CO2, air it up. Air went in, filled up. I said, all right, I don't hear air leaking out. Let's put this back on and see what happens. Put the rear wheel back on, put everything back together, put all my tools back, you know, in my jersey inside just to get back on the road. I said, I'll figure this back out at transition. I'll dump all this stuff out. And of course, for that next 15-ish miles, getting back out there, I got back out. Things seemed pretty well, but I just knew it was on your brain. It's on your brain. I don't have another CO2. If something happened with this or I pinched it, putting it on, I'm going to have to ask somebody or be begging on the side of the road for one. And, you know, at that point, if something else happens, I'm just in, let's finish the race and get back to the finish line at any time throughout the day. Once I continued on, I noticed, you know, my computer stays on for the races. It showed my, you know, average miles per hour, obviously going down. Continue on. So basically for that next 10 of 15 miles, I was just doing mathematical calculations in my head. What did this do to me? Where did this leave me? Where am I going to be at? Let's reassess. Let's look at a new goal. Let's find out what we need to do. based on the miles per hour that I was averaging, and obviously now riding a little faster than I would have, because now I'm just trying to play some catch up for that last 50 miles. I was cruising above, or I should say below, or better than the pace I needed to on the bike to play catch up. Once I was about 10 miles out, I did the calculation and told myself, all right, we're aiming for 2:31 on the bike. You were ahead of that pace by a minute or two before you had that little incident. And now going forward, it looks like we're going to be able to finish this bike in about 2:35, 2:36. You may lose 5 to 6 minutes at most if you continue this pace to the end of the bike. So here we are coming back in. Now I know it's going to slow down a little bit before transition. It is what it is, but I went into transition 2 basically as hot as I could go. I said, it is what it is. If we lose 5 minutes on the bike, that was 5 minutes we basically had off of the swim. We might be back at flush, and it's going to be very close, and it's just going to come down. And these are the things I like, is just how that run's going to hold up. Are my legs going to have it based on the pace I was supposed to run that day to get this 5 hours? So we come off the bike. Again, slotted myself for 2:31. I was 5 minutes ahead on the pace, so technically I could pop off that bike at 2:36 even with or without that flat, and we popped off the bike at 2:35.06. We averaged still just under 22 miles per hour. I looked at the end of the race on Training Peaks. I blocked out that area that I stopped, and it was about a 5 to 6 minute window it was to change that rear tire. For me, that's a win in my book. That's knowing how to fix your bike, change your bike, knowing how to adapt and overcome. And now it was game time. Let's get in transition, get out of transition, get on the run, and see what we can have. I allotted myself for that 5-hour race to average 7:39, I believe it was, for the run. That was if I hit that swim time, that bike time, and everything was set. If I did that, I should hit 5 hours exactly. So trying to do the math in my head, I knew it's going to come down to this pace on the run. If you hit that goal pace for the day, you will be very close to hitting that 5 hours again. Pretty flat run course overall, besides getting in and out of town. I was pumped up. I was motivated now because I was able to do all these calculations in my head and know, instead of just sending it in after that flat tire for the day, saying, whatever, let me just get through this, trot to the finish line, it is what it is. Knew that if I put down the work that I had put in this year, I can still accomplish a pretty cool goal for myself. So we head out steady. Usually the first 2 miles I run a little too quick on the run. I held back this time knowing I wanted to run a steady half marathon pace wise throughout. Hit it, started hitting the aid stations, was taking salt as I needed through it, just feeling good. Every time I felt anything with my muscles, I would just hit a little more salt, do Gatorades, do water, switch at every aid station like usual. Started to hit some of those cups of soda towards the last 10K of the run. And the body, I was just moving. I really wasn't too concerned about what is my half marathon time going to be. I was just looking at each individual mile, just knowing if each mile can be under 7:39, we're good. The first couple miles were below that, so hey, 10 seconds here, 15 seconds here, putting time in the bank. I might have about a minute time now. And then I reassessed what my time was at the halfway mark and with that last 10K, 5K to go. And I kept averaging below that 7:39, so I knew we kept putting a little bit of time in the bank, where even if those last 3 miles, the wheels fall off and we run down to an 8.5, 9 mile pace, it would still be close. But overall, I held strong throughout the run. I was motivating people out there, trying to talk to people, keep that positive mentality, smiling out there. The support was great. And then coming to that last, mile or 2 mile stretch, I knew if you just hold your legs together, you got it today. So came down, past the water right there, finish line down there in sight. I hear it come through, cross the finish line, and I said, I'm pretty sure I had it today. My average on the run wound up being a 7:25 pace. It wound up being the 89th overall out of 2,000 run split for the day. So we definitely conquered the run course for the day for myself. Was able to put up an outstanding time. We wound up going 4:54.57 on the day. 5 minutes best, my below the goal that I had for the day, including having that rear flat. So I knew there'd be some more time out on this course if I ever went back in the future, possibly. Super grateful on the day, super motivated finishing the season with that, having that little bit of adversity out on the race course, adapting, overcoming, it's not the end of the day when something goes wrong. Like I say in my last videos, you can control the controllables. You can't control some other things, weather, mechanical issues to a certain extent. You can only control the controllables. Work on that stuff. You get a flat, you can control what happens with that. Nutrition, you can control a lot of that out there. You can control how you train. You can control the paces you run on race day. Those are the controllables that I always talk about and that I help my athletes with. Other than that, if it was a crappy day weather-wise, it got too hot on the run, there was another reason that I got delayed out there and I was over 5 hours, it is what it is. But I was able to control what I could and was able to beat my goal for the day. Greatest part about this race is, well, it was in the sun afterwards. It was really, really hot when I finished. So the people that were out there a little bit past me, they were definitely getting smoked out there in the sun. Pretty cool hangout spot at the end, right by the water. They feed you, you can hang out, take pictures. We waited for everybody to come in. Everybody I went with, did very well on the day. Brian, one of my athletes that I coach, finally got his sub 6 70.3 that he's been working on this year. Congratulations to you. Flo, the other lady that we went with, local friend, she did phenomenal. She crushed her swim, she crushed her bike. Great job to you. She's got some big goals next year. And overall, I think the family had a great time. Kids enjoyed it. We were able to hang out for a couple days after that. Just sit back, chill. Especially for me, this was the culmination of a very long year of events, run races, bike races, triathlons, and then just finishing the year, being able to relax. Take a couple days to unwind, chill out, enjoy it, and now off season. Take a couple weeks where we can just chill, start looking at some winter goals for next year, and things like that. Now, the inevitable question, would I go back and do this race again? I definitely would, and I plan on it. Maybe not so right away next year, but in the future, if this race is still going on down there, I think it's just time of year for us from New York, going down there, getting some nice weather, hopefully, and taking the family down there. It's just a beautiful area, beautiful race course, and everybody enjoyed themselves. So definitely give it, 2 thumbs up on that. Would love to go back there and hit this course again, hopefully with no issues, and be able to see what we can really give it out there. All right, so that's basically all I got. We were able to go, the day after, celebratory, recovery walk. We went to the USS North Carolina, the battleship that is right across from the finish line, out in the distance that you pass on the run course. Do a quick tour of it, took some pictures with our medals there the next day, celebrated with that. Got a lot of walking in, felt pretty good. Took the drive back home Tuesday. Here we are, finally, a couple days later, just getting our thoughts together. But I want to know how you felt if you raced North Carolina this year or in the past. Throw some comments down below on what you liked, didn't like, or tips with all these different transitions on some stuff that you did. And also, if you're thinking about doing this race and have any questions as well, comment down below. We had some good conversations down there from the last couple race video recaps on people that were interested in doing this race. Other people were able to chip in and give their 2 cents about their race experience. But for today, I hope you enjoyed the race recap, the course overview. That was it, last 70.3 of the year. Triathlon season's over for me. I'll catch you all up in another video about what's coming in the off season and my trail run season coming up and some plans for next year. So don't forget, stay safe, stay healthy, balance that life 1 mile at a time, and we'll see you on the next one. You want to be in the video? Come here. Come here. It's off. Come here. I know, I heard you. Come on.
And I was here the entire time to hear.
Okay. What was your favorite part of the race? Going to the beach?
Yeah.
Did you like the battleship?
Yeah.
Here. Put this on. Hold it up. And go show it to the camera.
It's on?
Yeah, see if you can get it to focus.
You can't really move it like that.
That's all right.
The camera always flips it around.
So we'll get some B-roll footage. Come sit by me. B-roll footage for the outro. Vlog, yo. Get in here, Brian.
Nailed it. Hold on, I got a parker. You gotta park your woman. Oh, nice, dude. This is where you literally like move, you feel shit in your colon move.
You feel the goose and gels go.
Seriously.
There's nothing better than an after race blowout. And all the sugar comes out.
Yo,
Cheers to the video.
slouch your bitches.
This is the
Wait,
outro.
what did the Vikings say?
This is the outro.
Outro. No,
Yeah.
the Vikings, what did they say? No. Prost.
Words of advice? I mean, words of encouragement.
Words of encouragement. Don't get a flower. No, it's mile 40.
Watch
It's mile 40 that does it. There's a bad juju going on in mile 40. Nah, I had fun out there. There are people that want to go like, oh, I just want to pass you because of your accent. I barely fucking talk to you, but okay. Yeah, no. Yeah. The girl said, I've been staring at the whole for a good portion of the front. I said, oh, really?
There's Brian. I regret
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah. And then she told me she was a cop. I said, okay.
Oh, there you go.
All right, there you go.
So my ass looks good. That's it. Game over. 2022 triathlon
Hey,
season. In
that's
the
it.
books,
Done.
yo.
Close the books.
Cheers. Take the buckets.
And pineapple juice.
And pineapple, yeah, pineapple juice.
With a pineapple juice garnish.